All right, guys. Now, I know I say this every time I interview somebody, but the person I have on right now is a really interesting fella. He's definitely outside of the box. And I think you'll agree with me. I think by the end, in the next 10 minutes, you'll agree that this has been quite a unique interview. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, please like and subscribe to Sanity's Cove, and we'll get more interviews like this in the future. But I want to introduce Joel, because if you're anyone who maybe you've grown up in church and all you know about your Christian faith is kind of going to church on Sunday and Sunday school, and naturally you're just the adventurous some sort. Maybe school bores you, or church bores you. It's not that you don't believe in God, but you just don't see how it helps you be a bolder, stronger you. And you hunger for adventure and you just don't see it in the church. If that's you, I want you to listen to what this guy has to say. So Joel, I appreciate seeing the Land Rover behind you. I bet that Land Rover behind you has seen a lot of miles and been to a lot of countries and seen a lot of danger, as have you, I believe. Joel, would you just briefly introduce yourself and maybe tell us where you are now, but where you lived previously to where you are now?
Sure. So I'm in Wales right now. I actually grew up in Senegal in West Africa. My parents were missionaries there. We lived in a little village out in the bushland, and I went to a school very locally until war came to the country, and then I had to start boarding school. Then came back to the UK, finished my schooling, got married, and my wife and I were dying for an adventure. So we heard about a training program that happened with World Horizons in Venezuela, and part of that training was that they would take you to the jungle for 6 weeks to live with a tribe, and that just seemed like a really interesting thing to do. So we headed over there, did the training, went to the tribe, and just saw the need that the people had for someone to go and live there and disciple them. You know, our movement had been doing short-term trips there 2-3 times a year. And the last couple of days that we were there of this 6 weeks, we were having a chat with some guys, teaching them aspects of the Bible, and we were talking about fear. And so we asked some questions, you know, what are you afraid of? And most of the answers that came back were all the sort of common answers. I'm afraid of my kid dying of sickness. I'm afraid of snakes. I'm afraid of something happening to my family. And then this one woman, she just paused. She wouldn't answer for a few seconds. And when she finally did answer, she said, I'm afraid that when you all leave, I'm going to go back to just living the way I've always lived, getting drunk, messing around. She said, I want to follow Jesus, but no one is showing me how. And that really hit my wife and I. We thought we can't leave these guys here who want to follow the Lord with no one to teach them. So we came out of the jungle to finish our training and spent time praying. And a big part of that prayer was, Lord, you know, we've got other exciting things we'd like to do in our life. Yeah. Are you sure we're supposed to be going to this tribe? And the Lord made it very clear to us we were meant to go to that tribe. So we said, yes, we're going to go. And then we found out we were pregnant. And that was a big hit, because this particular tribe in eastern Venezuela, they have a 50% infant mortality rate. 50% of kids won't get to the age of 5. Wow. Just you're a long way away from hospital. There's not clean water to drink, all those sorts of things. And so lots of people started telling us, you know, you can't possibly be thinking of going if you're going to have a small kid with you. Wait till at least they're 4 or 5 years old. But we really felt the Lord wanted us to go, and that he was going to protect our child. So we came back to the UK, had our child, and when he was 6 months old, we headed over to Venezuela, got on a boat, did the 8-hour ride out of civilization, and began the process of living with them, going into the jungle, cutting down trees, building our house, which is sort of just a platform over the water with a thatched roof.
You built your own house out there in the jungle.
We did. I joked with my wife that I'd always told her I'd get a waterside property with hardwood floors and a thatched roof. This wasn't quite had in mind, but yeah.
Wow. Amazing. You know, a lot of us hear that in my own life. I can think back to when I was a single younger man, before I was married, and I would sort of do adventure some things back then. But after getting married and having kids, you think, okay, adventures in the past. That's behind you now. Those were the old days. But for you, it sounds like your biggest adventure started after you got married and had a kid.
Yeah, it did. I think there's something really special about going on an adventure with your family.
Yeah.
Um, Learning to trust God. You know, we saw miracle after miracle of God's provision. You know, one time we ran out of food, ran out of protein. We had like vegetables and stuff, and it'd been about six days, I think, without protein,
Wow.
and we were feeling pretty weak. And obviously, as a young boy, he needed protein.
Yeah.
So we prayed and we were like, Lord, you've got to give us protein. I'd been out fishing the whole day, not caught anything. Felt a bit like the disciples, really.
Yeah.
And so we prayed. And that evening, a guy just came to our house with this big fish. He said, I just caught so many fish, my family can't eat it. Here, have a fish. And the next morning, another guy came to our house with a fish and said, here, a free fish for you because I just caught so much, my family can't eat it all.
Wow. Mm.
So we started laughing. We're like, oh, should we pray for meat just as a bit of a joke because we never get meat in the jungle? And we said, you know what? Why not? We're like, Lord, would you send us meat? Never having had meat in the jungle. That evening, a guy paddled past our house. He just shot a deer. He said, it's the first deer I've shot in 2 years. And you were
Wow.
selling like 50 pence for a kilo. So that evening we had a venison barbecue. The next day, a guy killed one of his pigs and brought us some meat. And for I think it was 5 days in a row, we didn't have to leave the house. Morning and evening, we had protein brought to us.
Wow.
And so it was an amazing environment to be able to move in as a family of just seeing God's faithfulness.
Yeah.
And Levi, our son, being able to start growing up in the knowledge of the faithfulness of God. I think it's great to bring kids along on the adventure.
That's wonderful. I'm as a father myself, I'm personally challenged, and feel like uh, I wish I would. I hope to in the near future take my children out on more adventuresome things than I have in the past, because I certainly did more of that sort of thing as a young man. Now, but here's the reason I'm having him on. So I hope you guys are appreciating what Joel has to say about his own life. But the reason he's here is not just to talk about his own life, but because he wants to invite you to join him on a very adventuresome way to live out your faith in this world. So Joel, can you tell us about the new project you're working on and how some of our listeners might be able to connect with that?
Yeah, of course. So it's called the Pioneer Initiative, and it's based out of the idea that we as a movement, World Horizons, that's the organization, the Christian organization that I work for, we are focused on reaching the unreached, those people who have got no churches, no knowledge of Jesus. And we strongly believe that the Great Commission, Jesus will come back once all have heard. And so we're dedicated to that. And part of this project is we're looking for young, adventurous people, because the places that haven't yet heard now are the places that are hard to go to. It's the jungles of Borneo, the jungles of Venezuela, the mountains of Afghanistan. And so we're looking for people who are willing to be trained really hard and then go to a really hard place. So we put together a 3-year project, 9 months of training, and then 2 years of pioneering something brand new. And during that time of pioneering, we're going to aim to start sending people to whatever work is being done there to be able to establish the kingdom in that place. So the 9 months of training, it's unlike any training we've done before in Horizons. So we're doing wilderness first aid, taking people out into sort of northern Scotland, down into Western Sahara, across to the Jordan, Land Rover maintenance, mechanics, basic mechanics, so you can look after your vehicles. We're doing spiritual warfare, strong biblical basis and prayer to it. But alongside that is exercise, it's devotion. There's a whole range of different things, but it's more intense than we've ever
Handle
done.
interrogation and things.
Yeah, we're bringing a guy in to talk about interrogation, what to do if your car comes under fire.
Wow.
Because we're going to difficult places, because we're sending people there, we want to make them the best prepared possible. And part of that is saying, if you've got an adventurous spirit, then these are the kinds of places God wants you to go to. It was interesting. I spent quite a bit of time in UK church. And one of the things that hit me was, if you're good at speaking, then you could maybe preach on Sunday. And if you're good at singing, then maybe you could be part of the choir. And if you're friendly, then you can greet people on the way in. And if you're really adventurous, then go get a hobby on the side, because God can't use that adventure for his kingdom.
Wow.
And I remember it just hitting me. I was, out in the jungle in Venezuela, cutting down this tree with an axe in the pouring rain with this group of local guys who were teaching me how to cut it down. And it was just like, wow, this is all the adventure I've ever wanted. And for the first time, it wasn't selfish. I kite surf and climb and that sort of thing. But it had always been quite a selfish thing, because it was just, go get your kick, enjoy yourself. For
Mm.
the first time, I was doing adventure and I was actually doing it for God. And I realized it was like God made some of us adventurous. And there's a reason why. It's because he
Mm.
wants us to use that adventurous spirit to see his kingdom come. And it could be that he wants to use it to see his kingdom come in places that have never heard before. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
So if anyone watching this wants a little more information, do you have a website, a video somewhere they can go to learn more if they're, just they want to consider it?
Yeah, if you go to worldhorizons.co.uk, there's a video there. I'm sure we can put the link in the description of the video as well.
Yeah.
Head there, and there's there'll be a phone number there as well. Feel free to give us a call, and we can tell you more about it. But yeah, singles, couples, young families, all are welcome.
Well, you're
And
even taking young families, huh?
even taking young families. Well, part of what we realized on our training was that being trained as a couple and then having a kid as soon as you arrived in the jungle was really hard. You were getting to understand how to be parents whilst also trying to understand a completely new culture.
Yeah.
Far better, if God's given you a mission heart and you've got young children, come and train with those young children. And we've got a wealth of people with great experience of having kids on the field that can train you as a family to say, how do you keep your priorities straight of looking after your kids, looking after your marriage,
Yeah.
whilst being in a difficult
Sure.
environment.
All right. So these are for people 18 and older, right?
18 and over, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
18 and
no
over.
limit at the top, providing you're
All
happy
right.
to hike up a mountain. You can be 75.
All right. If you can hike up a mountain, you can be any age, 18 and older. Great, Joel. Thank you very much. Great having you on. And I hope, some people make contact with you asking for more information. We certainly need more adventuresome spirits in the kingdom. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good one.
Thanks. Appreciate it.